Good morning. Welcome back, Descending Ravens. Let's have a look at our cards today. How's everybody doing out there? Okay. Surrender to the Queen of Swords. So surrender to some kind of boundary energy or some kind of affirmative action. She's very affirmative. She takes action on things. She's a little bit stern sometimes and can even be, if she's badly aspected, she can be grumpy, you know, bitchy, grumpy, right? Okay, now badly aspected. So this card, these two are the closest to her, and they're very nice cards and they're well aspecting. But if this was right next to her like that, that would be a whole nother ball game. Now she's badly aspected. Okay, so surrender to the nastier version of her. Okay, it's not like that. Now I'm reading it because this card comes first. So it's asking you to surrender, or you feel the need to surrender to having to be this way. For some reason, you have to take affirmative action and be firm, and maybe even be in parts of yourself that, I mean, I don't know how good everybody out there who's watching is at having really good boundaries, being direct and taking matters into their own hands, because that's what she does. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being firm, direct, getting things done. In fact, when it's well aspected, this feels like it's hard for you to do this, but necessary. So it's necessary to become the Queen of Swords. Okay, you're in a situation, feels like, where you need to pull her up so she gets things done and takes action and goes away a little bit from her feelings and more goes with what her intellect and logic tells her to do. Okay, and that's, we live on the earth plane. You need to do that. You can't only be in your feelings here. Okay, so we've got the Six of Cups in the past. So in the past, a situation might have arose from a childhood or with a childhood friend or sibling, or to do with a friend or a connection with somebody, okay, that's created the need for you to, maybe you need to say something out of kindness, okay, and be firm about something. Even though, you care about somebody, it looks like there's feelings and you care about them. It's not like they're a bad person, but you might need to give some firm advice to someone because you do care about them. And as far as I'm concerned, I would only even put that kind of energy out there if I cared about somebody, because if I didn't care about them, I wouldn't muster up that much energy. You know what I'm saying? I would just not even worry about it. I don't even give advice to people that I'm not that keen on, right? They can do whatever they like. I don't care. Do you know what I'm saying? I know that sounds brutal, but I'm not going to waste my energy anymore. I would only bring this up get really clear about something and firm if, first of all, my boundaries were being crossed, or secondly, I cared about them and I was worried about them. And that's kind of the feeling I'm getting, is there's a need to say something to somebody here or take an action that otherwise, you would rather not, because maybe you're overly polite. Are you a Canadian? Because I know we are overly polite sometimes, but then we don't like getting pushed around either. Nobody does, right? So I feel like there's a need to say something, even though you care about somebody, there's a need for a boundary or a firm word or a clarity, okay? And don't put it off, I feel like. You have a tendency to put it off, right? And then now we've got the 5. I feel like if you put it off, it'll just make it it's like making a mountain out of a molehill. I feel like if you mention it, and the sooner you just clarify this, you can get back to being friends and having a really nurturing friendship. Right? So don't procrastinate just right away when somebody steps a little on your toes, or in a situation where you need to say something. And that's where the surrender card comes in. It says, you can't really not go forward without. So there's a need to say something in a kind and loving way. It's out of love that you have to mention something. Don't procrastinate, okay, or talk yourself out of it. You can still be a nurturing, kind person. Even mothers have to say, hey, right? A good mother, a good parent, father, a good parent has to toe the line with the kids sometimes and make boundaries. And actually, children appreciate it. I found my children appreciated it. In particular, my daughter, she respected me more. When I had her, I didn't know to make boundaries with children. And I thought just being nicey nice every day and just everything's great. And it's like, you know what? It wasn't always great. And I needed to put my foot down about some things. And my daughter actually appreciated it. And I think she came here to teach me that. Yeah, she was a very powerful woman and she needed the structure and I wasn't giving it to her. So sometimes think of it that way. You're giving a gift as long as it's coming from a good place. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, let's have a look. 2 more clarifiers just for fun. Ooh, look at that. Okay, so intuitively, I feel like you have to do this or say this. Or there's something intuitively that you're doubting and second guessing. So go back to what your instinct says about a situation and stick with that. Okay, if you instinctually know you need to say something about something, mention something to somebody or take an action, you need to go do that. Like if your intuition's telling you, listen to your instincts and don't talk yourself out of it, I feel like. Because this is a guilty card. This card feels guilty, and I feel like based on the rest of the reading, I don't think it's the way to go. I don't think. Sometimes we need to act on those feelings. I mean, I don't recommend feeling guilty. I find it's a waste of energy. I've actually really weeded out a lot of guilt out of my life. I mean, I was raised Catholic, so I know all about guilt, but I really don't appreciate the feeling of guilty. If I'm doing something because I feel guilty, that's not good enough for me anymore. That is, that's something I taught myself out of. I don't do things just because I feel guilty. No, I do not, actually. I do things because my intuition and instinct tells me to do them and that it's the right thing to do. I check in with my inner self, and I feel like that's maybe what that overview is saying. Wow, thank you so much, and sending you some ravens on that kind of complex but necessary sort of situation maybe you're involved in. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day.